Hi everyone, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Lab 1, and this is due this week. A great question came in here about how to do one of the problems which deals with finding a unit vector and then plotting that unit vector. So if you scroll down through the lab, there's some dialogue about that, and they did a little magnitude function, so you can use that if you want to for your unit vector, but I'm going to go really old school here and do the square root of the dot product. All right, so I don't want to post the answers for exercise 3, so instead of this vector 10, 1, 5, I'm going to work with a different vector. All right, so I'm going to close that down and just get into a blank file. I'll post this file for you in case you want to copy paste the code into your Mathematica file. So I'm going to start off with a vector. I'm going to call it V. We'll use curly brackets for vector notation, and my vector is going to be the vector 1, 2, 3. In general, this is really good to do if you're coding in a new language or just playing around with something. Use some small numbers that you could manually compute by hand. I can do the unit vector here pretty easily by hand, pencil and paper, and that way we can just make sure that the computer is doing what we think it should be doing. All right, so I'm going to hit Shift-Enter. So now Mathematica knows I had an input there. It's a vector input with the curly brackets, and everything looks good. Next, I'm going to make a unit vector. I'm going to call this U. Now, to find the unit vector, we take our original vector V divided by the magnitude of that vector. And the magnitude is found by the square root of the dot product. All right, so let's go to Palettes, Classroom Assistant Palette. And over here, you've got lots of options. There's the Basic and the Advanced tab. Either one is fine. All I need is the square root function, and that's right here. Now, I could manually type in here, 1 squared plus 2 squared, blah, 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 or we can get fancy and go v dot v. So there's our dot product. I'm going to hit Shift-Enter, and now let's double check this. Our original vector was 1, 2, 3, so that should be up in the numerator, divided by the magnitude, which if we do that quickly in our head, that should be the square root of 14. And so certainly I see that in the first and third components. Here they did a little rationalizing of the denominator and got that 14 out of there, so that's what's going on. But that looks good. Mathematica is doing what we think it should be doing. All right, now let's do our plot. And to do the plot, I'm going to call it plot 1 colon equals, and I've already typed this in. So this is our original vector, 1, 2, 3. Mathematica is very fussy with the curly brackets and square brackets. So if your code is not producing an arrow, go back and look at those brackets. Shift-Enter. Plot 2. Now plot 2 is supposed to be different. It's not 1, 2, 3. We want to make that our unit vector. So I'm just going to go copy paste right here. And I'll put it right in here for those curly brackets. Okay, Shift-Enter. All right, so now I've saved these two plots as a variable called plot 1 and plot 2. If I had deleted that and just typed in the graphics 3D, and I hit Shift-Enter, it would make me a very nice picture. But what I wanted to do is save them as plot 1 and 2, and then put them on the same set of axes with the show command. So this is going to be plot 1, comma, plot 2, Shift-Enter. And let's see what we got. Well, that looks pretty good, except, who's who? I don't know which, I do know because the unit vector looks a little shorter, but it would be nice to really demonstrate in the plot which one is the unit vector. So if you want to make that red, you need to add in the words thick red, and of course we already had arrow. Let me make this a little smaller so we can see how it would look all on one line. Okay, so thick red arrow. Notice the curly bracket before that, then there's the square bracket. Again, Mathematica is very fussy about that. Now, if you just go down to show command, nothing happened. And the reason why nothing happened is because we didn't hit Shift-Enter after this updated line for plot 2. So I need to hit Shift-Enter right there. Now when we do the show command, we are seeing our original vector, which is the black one, and the unit vector, which is the thick red arrow.